Thanks, Jennifer. It's great to be here with you and always with Frank. Just going to take a second to load up our presentation on America 250. I hope this is not too disruptive. There we go. Connect Humanities, has started the process of really thinking about America 250 back in March of 2020. And I think probably most of the people on this webinar will remember what happened back then. We were a week into the planning and everything shut down because of the pandemic. But we persisted. We, along with the former Secretary of State, Denise Merrill, formed a couple of pathways to begin thinking about the commemoration of nationhood, the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and thought both about a legislative pathway, executive pathway, and ultimately we established a commission through an executive order created by Governor Lamont in July of 2020. I'm not going to get into the details here, but we do have a website for those of you who would like to check it out, ct250.org. I'm going to go through some of the content and the work that we've been doing to orient folks to the work of the Commission and Connecticut Humanities, who's administering this. We really set out to make sure that everybody felt like they would be part of this and that they were reflected in the events of the Commission. So the breadth of engagement, the number of opportunities for folks around Connecticut to connect across communities. This is really an opportunity to make sure that folks felt like they belonged as part of this initiative. Some of our guiding values were really around making it more than just a reflection back on just the events of the 250th. Obviously, part of this is both celebratory and analytical, but this is really an opportunity to make sure that folks aligned with the different values that we set forth, not the least of which we felt very strongly about creating all sorts of access, whether online, in person, but that everybody should be able to experience this moment. The themes that we established at the outset of the commission align with much of the work set forth by the American Association for State and Local History, or AASLH. Our priorities here are to tell inclusive stories, ensuring that all of the research and the social history that's gone on in the previous couple of generations is embedded within the storytelling that we're undertaking. So we have a more inclusively animated story and that everybody sees their history here. The power of place is another theme where we really wanted to focus on the different communities across Connecticut and that every municipality has a part of this story and that we could tell that story through the lens of local commissions. For the common good is aimed at encouraging civic engagement, service, volunteerism, is sort of animating ideals from the birth of this country. And then doing history, really engaging the public in this work, whether it's genealogical, site history, creating new understandings and opportunities for Connecticut's public to explore the past. I think more than just exploring the past, part of our goal is really to ensure that we're not just thinking about 1776, but the enduring legacy of that moment of independence and how the ongoing revolutions that continue to inform our democratic processes and the communities that are participating, whether your ancestors were here 13,000 years ago or became a citizen last year. We've engaged a number of conversations around the state in an effort to really democratize the engagement and participation of our work with the 250th. And you can see here just sort of a by the numbers. We're still growing our outreach, but we do have now 97 affiliate organizations for the commission, 85 local committees formed. I'll show you a map in a moment that indicates we have work to do. And I hope folks on the call will look to their local municipalities, explore whether or not there's a commission formed, and encourage local elected leaders and community members to get a commission underway. We've hosted over 40 events and 1,500 folks at different gatherings. We have now, through the Connecticut Humanities Fund, awarded over $300,000 in different kinds of grants. You can see 29 different projects. We've also catalyzed other funding sources through our Good to Great projects in alignment with the state's initiatives. We funded additional grants as well for capital-oriented projects to get some of these sites up and going and underway, thinking about the 250th as it's around the corner. We have regularly interacted with other commissions across the country, including the National Commission. We've been to Virginia and Pennsylvania and Washington, D.C. to share ideas and understand what's going on and how other people are choosing to commemorate this moment. And then we've had a number of Connecticut Commission meetings across Connecticut. We've been meeting with not just our state commission, but Council of Governments, Council of Small Towns, and so on. So this is all an effort to make sure that everybody sees themselves in this commemoration. The map here, there's an interactive map of this on our website, as I mentioned, ct250.org. All the towns shaded in red have locally formed commissions, and everything with a blue dot you can see has an affiliate organization. So we hope that we can sort of fill in some of those gaps across Connecticut. Obviously, there's a number of towns that still are forming commissions, and some we don't know about yet. So we continue our outreach. Just a couple of grants that we have supported through Connecticut Humanities Fund, and we've prioritized 250th funding, Rethinking the Amistad Story, The Legacy We Carry, Roots and Resilience, a Black Heritage exhibit at African American Society, the Hartford History Lecture Series at the Connecticut Democracy Center, The Future is Here, Building a Better Future for the Ancient Burying Ground up in Hartford, Voices for Portland Historical Society, Building an American Voice at the Fairfield Museum and History Center, rather. And you can see some of the other grants, again, on the website. We continue to award them. We have more deadlines in the coming months, and hope to continue funding locally formed projects. So some of our goals and plans this year, I'll just go over quickly. This just happened a few weeks ago. On March 21st, we had a America 250 conference at the University of Connecticut at Storrs, shaping a commemoration rooted in belonging. Roughly 250 people showed up, good appropriate number, where we could really sort of talk a lot about the local projects going on, the initiatives going on across the state, and other people's plans. Building curriculum packets for educators. This is aligned with one of our subcommittees on education. We continue to do this work and thinking about red, white, and blue schools in Connecticut and how kids and educators can engage civically in their classrooms. We're thinking about a statewide exhibition. We're working with potential funders to think about not just the events, connecting the different historic events across Connecticut and that root the American Revolutionary era in Connecticut, but thinking about how we can sort of centralize some of this content at the museum at the State Library, the Connecticut Museum of Culture and History, but also having the sort of outdoor open air exhibit that we can connect these sites and create new panels across Connecticut at these different heritage locations. We continue to work towards and build and recruit local committees. We're happy to have these conversations. My staff members are working very actively on guiding and facilitating conversations within communities. We continue to expand our outreach to affiliate organizations. As you saw earlier, there's nearly 100. We had a meeting earlier today where others were accepted as well. We continue to grow that number, affiliates both in for-profit and nonprofit organizations. So we really want to begin promoting this across the state and in alignment with the Connecticut Office of Tourism. Coming up this weekend, first opportunity to sort of begin our commemoration at the outset of the American Revolution, Two Lights for Tomorrow, which symbolizes Paul Revere's ride. We encourage organizations and towns to leave two lights on outside their doors. And then April 19th is an opportunity to sort of align with our goal of for the common good and participate in a day of service. This is a nationwide effort to really encourage service within our communities. We hope to continue exhibiting at festivals and statewide events, so look for us there. And we will continue to promote the work of the nation's, the National Commission, and as I mentioned earlier, thinking about how we can continue to work in alignment with the Connecticut Office of Tourism, getting all of these different sites on CT Visit, and doing some major promotions there in the coming year. As I mentioned earlier, we'll continue to encourage our own work, but as well as other grant funders to think about the 250th and how they can support local projects. We're going to be launching an initiative where folks can donate to a centralized portal if they want to support their municipalities. They can make donations to Connecticut Humanities, and we'll ensure that those municipalities are able to support their projects through local giving. And then we're also finally thinking about the signature event in July 4th, 2026 in Hartford, with the usual sort of parade and fireworks, but also a recommitment ceremony where 169 cities and towns will participate in recommitment to American democracy, signing a document and making sure it's delivered to the governor. And you can learn more here at ct250.org. And I am pretty sure I took my 15 minutes and I'm going to hand it off to Frank, and happy to answer any questions after this. Frank, to you.
Handoff. That was a lot of red, white, and blue, Jason. Thanks.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll try to make some news here with the catalytic energy of the event this weekend, the Sherman event this weekend, to say that it sounds like we will have kind of news about New Haven's committee by then. So that's a great thing too. And I guess I will try to share my screen now. Uh, just to start, get back up there. We did promise some Roger Sherman in this talk, so I wanted to have a couple images to remind folks that this is New Haven and we know how to celebrate Roger Sherman. These are slides from the 4th of July event at Grove Street Cemetery that lifts up two folks who were involved, the Revolution, Sherman, and there's a chance to see Worcester as well. So while we won't be talking about Roger Sherman today, rest assured, He's somebody who looms large in New Haven and certainly in New Haven on the 4th of July. So I was at a meeting recently with Jason, and someone in the meeting asked about our plans for the 250th. And Jason, hopefully this isn't putting us all on the spot, acknowledged that given all of the complicated news around funding and everything else, uh, it might be hard for some people to feel celebratory in the ways they had even a year ago, and that might impact our planning or the realities of the events. And it was a surprising question, but it was also a really good question, and it was sort of grounding for me to think about what my goals are in planning for the celebration as an individual, but also as somebody who works in the public humanities and is connected to institutions that have collections and need to remember all the work of the founders and folks who invested in these collections and in these histories and why they matter in 2026. And so I didn't say that in the meeting because it would have been rude to break things open like that. But it definitely, kind of that history, that foundation is what's guiding me as I think about this work for CTH, but also for me personally and for the organizations that I'm connected to. And I'll just quickly move past this slide. Though we could talk about this in the Q&A if you want to. And start with this really great image of the Cleveland Arcade in 1976 during the bicentennial. And again, lots of red, white, and blue, lots of optimism because we were a really different country then. And I vaguely remember this moment in our history, but my memories of Ohio at that point and my sense of the country and what was possible is really different. And so much of what we have in cultural organizations that are focused in African American communities, anyway, we got from this moment. We got from the kind of energy and enthusiasm people shared coming out of the modern civil rights movement in the late 1960s and early 70s, how they wanted to invest in telling stories and growing audiences who cared about African American public humanities, and thinking about the sort of public money that was out there, CETA grants and other kind of funding that made it possible to invest in small arts and cultural organizations in neighborhoods that could begin to tell stories for young people that were pivotal to the successes of the modern civil rights movement. And sort of that energy was the foundation for so much of what we have today. And certainly that's true here in Connecticut. So in case people have forgotten about sort of African Americans in the bicentennial moment, I'll do a quick recap. Here are some things that were really important nationally in that early 1970s to 1976 period. Alex Haley's Roots. And if you were around at that time, you remember, if not the book and how important the book was, then certainly the miniseries and how revolutionary it was to see the story of Haley's family, Kunta Kinte, and those generations on national TV. And also the idea that you could track down those histories, that it was possible to find where you'd come from. And today, obviously, that's even more. There are even more ways to do that, and the enthusiasm around that is sort of more than doubled. Uh, we've also got this sort of great image of Bearden and the work that he was doing come Sunday. You may be able to see it, maybe not. But lots of visual artists who were embracing or embraced 1976 as a prompt for thinking about history and culture within Black communities. Tied to that, of course, you've got David Driscoll's 2 Centuries of Black American Art at the LA County Museum in 1976, which really was an incredible survey for the folks who had forgotten about sort of the histories of Black art. It was an amazing moment to bring back those stories and remind the nation of all the ways that African American artists had been contributing to the narrative of the United States since the Revolution. And finally, my absolute favorite, uh, the Edna Lewis Taste of Country Cooking, uh, also a bicentennial project, a chance to think about foodways beyond sort of the meme of soul food and how important farm to table cooking was for Black communities across the South in the 20th century. We're going to pull out Edna Lewis here for a second because she really does inspire so much farm to table conversation and disciplinary action in the food world. I mean, this book and the way she talks about what she ate, the family celebrations, the community celebrations really made a huge impact in culinary traditions across this country. And so I tried to include some of the books that sort of relate to it. You've got Verta May Grosvenor's Vibration Cooking. There at the bottom, you've got Cornbread Nation. Cut out from the shot is Matt and Ted Lee's Southern Country cooking book. But sort of a much greater impact uh, in the 30 to 50 years since publication than could have been imagined when she was putting that book together. And so many aspects of, in this case, African American cultural history that emerged in 1976 have had these sort of big impacts. Closer to home here in Connecticut, have to reference David White's Connecticut's Black Soldiers and Ernest Saunders' Blacks in the Connecticut National Guard, and a whole raft of scholarship that comes out of that moment. A lot of it focused on tracking down the stories of Black Revolutionary War heroes and other folks who really had, they weren't lost to history, but people had stopped thinking about their impact. James Mars is on the cover of the Connecticut Black Soldiers book. Another person who had written a book, was certainly known about for a long time, but begins to recede from our consciousness and is pulled back in by the bicentennial. Sidebar for Ernest Saunders, who goes on with some colleagues here in New Haven to found an early Black Historical Society here in New Haven. And they begin collecting all kinds of things. The prompt really was, in many ways, the bicentennial and conversations, opportunities to talk about their local history, their family history on a broader stage with area historical organizations, and realizing that there wasn't some place that did that work for Black New Haveners. That collection still exists and lives at the Q House, and so we're thinking a lot about how we can tell the story of this collection's emergence and these forebears who made it possible for us to tell some of these stories. Uh, well, 426, I'm going to skip past sort of the bits of history about that organization and go to Op Sale 76. One of the other things that happened for this anniversary was that Warren Marr uh, in New York, committed to the story of the Amistad captives, really fascinated with it, talking with folks in New York, but also in Bridgeport and New Haven in the 70s about how to kind of pull that story forward, comes up with the idea with the help of folks here in Connecticut to have a tall ship ride in the parade or sail in the parade, actually, dressed up as the Amistad. And from that experience, we get the energy that pulls us towards the Amistad schooner in 2000. And obviously, it's a really long journey. There are folks around who remember those conversations and Warren Marr and all the work that went into it. But it's sort of another great example of what the bicentennial brought to folks here in Connecticut. And I'm going to click quickly through these slides of Long Wharf, a little sidebar on Long Wharf Pier with this great William Lanson history. Just to note that Long Wharf was recently awarded landmark status, and there will be a big celebration of Long Wharf in May. I think May 27th, possibly. So if you're in New Haven, stay tuned. The Preservation Trust will be celebrating Long Wharf, and it'd be great to see you down on the wharf. That I think it's Tuesday night. And I will just wrap up with this image On one side, you've got Edna Lewis and the taste of country cooking and sort of the national impact of her culinary history. And on the other side, thinking about the impact more locally, uh, farm to table cooking and thinking here in New Haven, Clare, Bloodroot in Bridgeport. There are plenty of other places, lots of new restaurants that are kind of in the debt to Edna Lewis. At the top there, we've got New Haven Cooks, which is a cookbook of kind of local recipes from everyday cooks who live here in the city that was produced by City Seed a couple of years ago. So in some ways, Edna Lewis's history has really transformed the way we eat here in New Haven, in restaurants and at public schools, and even in our own kitchens. I'm going to stop there. It always ends with food. And I guess turn it back over to you, Jennifer, to see what people are thinking on screen.